Good evening, y'all. It's rolling up on 9 p.m. here in Webster County, Iowa. I'm at the marker 126 truck stop. It's at mile marker 126 on US 20 highway in Webster County, Iowa. Highly recommend this truck stop. It's a good truck stop. They have about 30 spots. They have probably about another 5 to 10 make your own spots when you get full. They're paved parking spots. You know, they're paved, not paid, but they're paved parking spots are nice and even, no potholes. They're extra wide. You can straight back in every single one of them. And then they have a huge gravel pad for the rest of the parking lot, and you can straight back into it. And it's firm, you know, it's good. It's at a little bit of an incline or decline, I guess, when you back in. But nothing too bad. And I've definitely slept in worse where your truck's all, sitting downhill or uphill or side hill or whatever. It's a good truck stop. They have good pizza. I had a pizza out of the warming case. They actually have a grill inside that makes this pizza, and also one plate meal, which is pork chops, and then about 4 or 5 sandwich meals, like hot sandwich meals. And I looked at the menu and they look good. I just really wanted a slice of pizza, so I wasn't that hungry. So I didn't get anything from the grill, but I wanted to try the pizza. So, but it was pretty good. I would definitely recommend. I give this truck stop a good solid 8 out of 10. It had maybe a 9 out of 10 actually. They do have showers. I didn't check them out. They're $18, but they are free with an 85-gallon purchase of fuel. And this is a Sinclair stop with cat scales. So it's not on my trucker GPS, so I don't know if it'll be on the other trucker GPS at this point. It looks pretty new, but it is on Trucker Path. And like I said, it is mile marker 126, Webster County, Iowa. It's best to get to it from the westbound lanes, because if I were eastbound, like, you have to go west out of here. Like, there's no option for you to make a left turn to go east out of here. So you got to go west and then to a turnaround or something. And let's see how far the next turnaround is from here. Not too far. It looks like it's about a mile or two where you can just exit and then go up under the highway and then come back up on the other side. So it wouldn't be bad, but you can definitely get to it from both lanes. You just can't leave. You just can't leave in both lanes, if that makes sense. But in any case, so I spent all day yesterday fighting with a load, trying to get the right weights. It was a bunch of steel coils. I normally run a Conestoga flatbed trailer. The Conestoga is the one with the tarps that enclose the entire trailer, but you load them like a flatbed, and which means I can run them like a flatbed and all that. And this kind of load, in my opinion, belongs on a flatbed and not really in a dry van. But I had 12 galvanized coils that were all different sizes and different weights. And when I say different sizes, I mean, they were just thickness. Because I've hauled these coils before when they band them together, and then they put them in, basically they make one great big steel coil, set it in the middle of a flatbed on a coil rack, just to the rear of center, and you're golden, take off. But these, there were 12 of them, and they just couldn't figure out the right configuration to get their weight right, because some of them weighed 5,000 pounds, some of them weighed 2,500 pounds. And the first loader had them staggered all the way from front to back. So I put like one on the left and then one on the right behind it, because they can't sit side by side because they're too big. And then he just kind of staggered them the whole way, about most of the way back to my trailer, until we got to the end of the trailer, until we got 12. But he wasn't at the end of the trailer. He had still quite a bit of room left. Well, I suspected that that the load was too far forward, but it was my first time hauling steel coils like that in a dry van. So I went to scale, and sure enough, I was about 1,600, 1,800 pounds over. I'm going by memory. Plus I was really low on fuel, and I think I was adding in the fuel weight as well, because I wanted to be able to put a couple 100 pounds worth of fuel in. Because fuel weighs 7.1 pounds per gallon, and all that weight will be on, most of that weight will be on my drive tires on my tractor, and some of it would be on my steer tires, but none of it's on my trailer axles tires. So I got to factor that in. I got to factor in my fuel whenever I scale. So I was over, and I had to go back the next morning to get the load reworked. I get there and I tell the second loader, I said, hey, the first loader loaded me this way. If we can just take the whole load, move it to the center of trailer, maybe a little rear of center, I think we'll be okay. Well, he let me know that he knew what he was doing, and that he's got me. And he wasn't an ass about it or anything like that. He was pretty cool about it. And basically he was like, man, I'll take care of you. I got you. I was like, all right, cool. You know, if you know how to load these, then get it done. Because the guy that loaded me the first night, it was actually his first time loading a dry van with these coils. So he didn't know. He was just told to stagger them, and that's what he did. So this guy loaded them differently. He basically put, a big one in the middle up front, and then a couple staggered, and then another big one, then a couple staggered. And he did that all the way, so the load went all the way front to back. And the guy acted like he does this all the time. They made a comment that, well, not on that trip, but anyway, I'll get to that in a minute. So I went to scale again, and sure enough, I was over by about 3,000 pounds on my trailer tires. And the problem is, each coil weighs different, has so much a difference in weight that you got to get it in the right spot with a lighter coil. It's basically like putting together a puzzle. And I was willing to tell them that, shifting the whole load to the middle of the trailer is good, but what I wasn't willing to do was tell them to put a certain coil here and a certain coil there, because I didn't want that to come back on the company I work for if it was wrong, and then have them say, hey, he told us where to load them, so that's your issue to get them reworked. Didn't want that. And to be honest with you, I could see that happening, because apparently there was quite a bit of discussion between the broker and the shipping office there. Me and the loaders, we were all cool with each other, and loaders had said something about, they've never had this problem before. And I told them that if they're shipping coils like this in dry vans, they probably just haven't had drivers scale their loads. I'm going to scale my load, because I don't think the CEO wants me to come home with a ticket. Because if I get a ticket, I'm pretty sure that's my responsibility, because I'm the one that's responsible for the load. Which is why I didn't want to give my 2 cents on where to position them. Me, myself, I would have put them in 3 groups of similar weights, and I would have had, the light ones, the heavy ones, and then the medium weight ones. And I would have done like basically a couple of light and a couple of medium up front, and then put, at the front of the load, but I would have had it all centered, and then I would put the big ones smack in the middle, but staggered, of the trailer. So, and then load the other remaining light ones past it, or behind it. As my ELD logging me off. Don't know why it does that every once in a while. Just when I sit so long with my truck turned off, it just logs me off. But in any case, so I didn't want to give my 2 cents, because I didn't want them to say that my company is now responsible for that, or the company that I work for is now responsible for having the load reworked, because they were already wanting to charge the broker for reworking them, even though it was 100% their issue. They just couldn't figure out what the correct placement for the coils. So they reloaded me again, and I went to the scale again, and this time they staggered them, but put them in the middle of the trailer. But this time they put too many big ones on the back, and I was 3,000 pounds heavy on the back again. And at that point, I told them, I said, we can keep going back and try and put different coils in different spots, and or they can just take one off. I was told that it was an all or nothing load, and that the shipper at that point had decided to just cancel the load, and they would figure it out by shipping it other means. In a flatbed, it'd be easy peasy mac and cheesy, because I can be 40,000 pounds on the spread axles, and I was sitting at 37,000 pounds on the tandems on the dry van trailer that I'm in, and you can only be 34,000. And the reason I'm in a dry van is because the customer that we haul Conestoga, or that we drag Conestoga trailers for, they have a couple of customers who require their product to be delivered in dry vans, so that's why we do that. But anyway, that was my issue, and I got pretty well taken care of. My company pays me, because, you know, it's none of my fault. My company actually pays me pretty well for being down. Well, for doing all that work, it gets counted as a being down day. So my company does take care of me on that, and I make pretty dang good money anyway from them. Anyway, so for those of you that don't know, I was a cop for 25 years. I retired from being a cop. About half of that was spent as a detective, and I like to get on here and talk about police stuff sometimes. Initially I started talking about like cases and things like that, and I really need to get back into that. I think that, you know, I like talking about some of the stuff that I did, and it's really kind of like a way to give myself, I guess, a record of, you know, maybe I can watch these videos, you know, when I'm in the nursing home, telling Ethel sitting next to me playing bingo that, you know, about my cases. Excuse me, about my cases that I work, excuse me. Because I've talked about some of my cases to people before, and people seem people seem to be kind of interested in it, and I guess if you're not seeing this kind of stuff on a day in, day out basis, you know, it is pretty interesting. And some of the stuff that I've done is pretty flippin' hairy. Some cases that, you know, I don't think I could even talk about on YouTube, because they're pretty, I mean, there's some pretty bad stuff, pretty evil stuff going on out there. I think a lot of people don't realize just how bad the world really is, as far as like the stuff that the stuff that police and first responders see. There's an old adage that talks about cops dealing with 10% of the population 90% of the time. There's a lot of truth to that. We deal with 10% of the population 90% of the time. I mean, I was always constantly just dealing with the same people over and over and over again, going to the same houses for domestics, going to the same stores for shoplifting, with the same suspects. You know, we had thieves that would go out, and that's how they make their living. You know, if hell, we had a car thief in town one time. I swear, I kid you not. He would steal cars from a local dealership all the time, and this local dealership got in contact with him, and I don't remember if he took them on their offer or not, but they offered him a free car if he just promised to stay off of their lot. I kid you not. And it was a used car, but this dealership, they deal in used cars and new cars. It's a pretty big dealership. It was a Toyota dealership, and but yeah, the owner got in contact with this guy, and I mean, he stole cars all the frickin' time, and he would he offered him a car. Kind of a quick funny story about this guy. When I was in uniform, our auto theft detectives came down to my squad that I was in, and they said, "Hey, we want to use you guys for surveillance on an auto theft ring that's in town." And they proceeded to tell us about this informant that they had, and they named, or not informant, because informants get paid, but they had a guy giving them information, which was this guy that steals cars, Damien. And he told them that you know, there were some car thieves in town. They had this list of cars that they wanted to steal. They were going to steal an Escalade from this dealership. They're going to steal a Cadillac car from this dealership. They're going to steal a Tahoe from this dealership, and a car from this dealership and this dealership. And they had a semi truck waiting at a truck stop just west of town, that they were going to take these cars to, and basically had a list. Well, I raised my hand, and I was pretty familiar with this guy as well at this point in my career. And I raised my hand, and I told him, I said, so I just saw this movie. It's Gone in 60 Seconds. You know, I mean, this sounds pretty far-fetched. Like, is this legit? And they acted like, oh, hell yeah, it's legit. So we spent the next, oh God, it must have been week, probably like 3 or 4 days, 3 or 4 or 5 days, because he knew when they were going to be in town, but like knew the week that they were going to be in town, but didn't know the night they were going to do all this, because I think it was even going to be a one-night heist, just like the movie Gone in 60 Seconds. And I was very vocal about thinking that this is a bunch of BS, because it sounded just like Gone in 60 Seconds, and literally it had just come out at the theaters, I think, and I had just seen it like probably not even a week before. But anyway, so we spend all this time doing this whole surveillance op, and about our 4th day in, he gets stopped in a stolen car, and officers go to his house, and I think they even called back because I think the auto theft detectives were working nights too with this on us, because my squad worked nights, and it was when I was in uniform. But they ended up finding about 4 or 5 other stolen cars within about a block or 2 of his house, and they suspected that he stole them all. And basically when I say stole a car, basically what people like him would do is they'd steal a car, park it within a block or 2 of their house, then walk home. They go back to that car. If it's still there, they drive it. If it's not, they go find another car to do that too. You know, they'll steal it, drive it to where they need to, take care of whatever business they need to take care of, come back out in the parking lot. If it's there, they take it to their house, and if it's not, they go find another car. And that's what he would do. You know, if the car wasn't where he parked it last, he knew the police had it, and he would just go steal another one. Well, they ended up finding, like I said, 4 or 5 other cars around his house, and canceled the op that night. And I told him, I said, yeah, it was Gone in 60 Seconds. So it was kind of comical. But anyway, so I wanted to talk a little bit about a video I saw earlier of a cop arresting a guy after he had flipped the cop off. All right, cops can't do that. Okay, and I know that most of us out here know that, you know, we can't do that, but there are some that don't. And you know, that's going to, I mean, that honestly, I think it could cost this cop his job, because he pretty much yanked him out of the vehicle after the guy was uncooperative, because he was kind of being mouthy about flipping the cop off and being like, yeah, I can do that. And the cop's like, it's an improper hand signal. Nah, you can't do that. I mean, we had a neighboring city that a cop pulled somebody over, and all they did was just pull him over. I don't even think there was an arrest, and the city still paid the guy like a $5,000 settlement, and that was several years ago. So adjusting for inflation, that'd be about $10,000 or $15,000 now. And if the person actually had to go to jail, oof, man, I mean, that's going to be pretty significant. And to be honest with you, I think the cop could be in danger of losing his job off of that. Yeah, you can't do that. Wave back. You know what I found? Be nice, and that is the worst thing that you can do to them. They hate it. I learned that people hated it when, if they flipped me off or called me names, if I were just like, hey, how you doing? Have a good night. Like, it just struck nerves. I remember one night I had some kids, dealing with some kids, and they were calling me every flipping name in the book, and I walked up to the main instigator, and basically I was working security at a movie theater, and they were causing problems on the property of the movie theater, and the movie theater was like, hey, we just want them gone. So I went to tell them, hey, you got to leave the property, and I was very polite about it. I just, hey, you got to leave the property, guys. Sorry, the movie theater management saying that you guys are causing problems, got to go. Well, they start calling me every name in the book and just being jackasses, and I went up to the main instigator and told her, I said, look, doesn't matter what you call me. I said, if you're trying to get a reaction out of me, you're barking up the wrong tree, because you're not going to get a reaction. I said, bottom line is, there's two choices. Go home, or, well, leave the property or go to jail. And this other kid goes, fuck it, take me to county. I pulled out my handcuffs, said, okay, let's go. And he goes, whoa, I'm just joking, man. I said, well, I'm not. I said, I came out here, I was being cool with you guys, and you guys start this crap, and that's where we're at right now. You got two choices, leave or go to jail. That's it. There's no other choice. So then they all left, mumbling and grumbling, and somebody actually threw a soda bottle at me, and I had no way of knowing which one of them threw a soda bottle at me. There was probably about 12 or 15 kids. But one of them threw a soda bottle at me, and it landed at my feet and rolled up next to me. I mean, it wasn't even close to hitting me, really. I mean, they were at least a foot or two away from hitting me. And I just kind of looked up and said, really? That as close as you can get it? You know, like I said, you know, it's all about your response, I think. You know, I don't know, you know, do something that they're not expecting, and they're going to react to it a little bit different, you know. But yeah, cops, just got to keep your cool, you know. If somebody flips you off, flip them off back. You know, if you get complained on, say, no, I waved at them. I didn't flip them off back. They're just mad because I waved at them, you know. Or don't flip them off back and just wave at them, you know. I mean, that's just what you got to do. So anyway, that's my video for the day. And if you're ever around this truck stop, truckers, check it out. I'm going to stop by here one day for lunch, because I run down this US 20 all the time, and I've been wanting to stop here and never have. I'm going to make it next time I run down it, I'm going to make it a point to actually stop and get one of their sandwiches, because they actually have a couple good sounding sandwiches. One of them is a Cuban, and I would definitely want to try their Cuban sandwich. But anyway, until next time, have a good day.